Hi, Professor. This is Module 10, Video Movement Response, and I'm Dean Rimbos. So the political issue I chose to focus on was the refugee situation in the Aegean area, specifically Greece. I've been here for a few weeks now, and I've seen some refugees myself, and it makes me so sad to actually see that. They come from Syria, Gaza, Palestine, and many other countries in the area over there where there's terrible war going on at the moment. We've learned a lot about dance and politics, and also how war has decimated areas and stuff like that. And so this is a perfect way to intertwine all of that. And so in this dance, I chose a couple elements to make it really pop out. And I just felt that the Greek culture is something I relate to a lot, and it was awesome for me to be able to work on this. So I incorporated location as a tool. I want the dance to start in like a darker, rainy city. Since obviously the person we're dealing with here is a refugee and we're trying to incorporate like their experience in the Greek country, I want them to start off as obviously like fresh. You're in a new country, you have no clue what's going on. They're obviously lost and they're probably not very well taken care of at the moment. It's probably very terrible for them to go there. So I wanted to set the tone of misfortune and feeling at the start. And as each movement progresses in the dance, I want to get lighter in the sense where it becomes less dreary. Obviously, I can't really control the weather as I'm inside a room, and I can't dim the lights either, which really sucks. But if I'd be able to start it like a little darker, that would have been cool, and then work its way up to the light. But I guess we just have to use our imagination a little for this one. But I also want to incorporate a costume in there. So the costume I was going to do was start off with something like a little heavier. That's like a jacket or a little robe on top that makes the person look like they maybe like haven't showered in a little while. They're new to the country and they have basically no home. They're pretty much homeless at this point. But as the movements go on, I want them to take that off and transition that into a blue and white shirt, which I currently have on, that represents the colors of Greece's national colors. I think that's really important because the colors represent Greece as a whole, and it's supposed to represent them supporting the refugees and the nation showing their love to them, that anyone is welcome no matter who you are, what you're going through, and we want to see you succeed and be happy. So that's what I want the colors to represent, and I'll show in the movements what I'll actually end up doing with the jacket, but I don't want to spoil it yet. So yeah, I guess I'll actually probably get started off with the movement. I'll get things going over here, and then after that I'll explain what each movement means, what the basis is behind it, and essentially how it relates to the theme. So that dance I just did consisted of 3 movements. The first movement, you saw the dancer, which is meant to represent a refugee, had their head down, their hands in their pocket, and had like a little like robe over them, which shows that like they're new to this country, they're not familiar with anything, and they're overall pretty nervous. They're worried, they're not sure what it's going to be like. But the second movement is where you can see a transition to the robes taken off, which is essentially showing off this blue and white shirt I have on that's meant to represent Greek and what we stand for. And so then when he starts waving it around, typically at like Greek weddings or any sort of celebration, when someone's dancing in the middle or when there's a group of dancers, you start waving like a towel, throwing plates, or even throwing money on the dance floor. And it's just something that's really good for the culture that represents us as a whole, which I like. And I want that to actually represent a little transition from the refugee being new to actually starting to understand the Greek culture and feel like they're actually a part of it, which is something I thought was actually really important. And the third movement, which is the final one, which in my opinion is the most important, that's when they become Greek themselves. We really take them in and we show them like this is a nation you're a part of and we want you to be happy. That last movement was actually based on the Greek dance Debekiko. So the dance consists of a solo dancer where they're typically getting a little low to the floor, dancing up high at the same time, a little bit of mix of like everything. That usually there's a circle of people around them and it's done as a symbol of honor for the country. And showing something like that could also show how thankful they are to be here, but also at the same time that we brought them in. I think a subject like that is something really important, where it's just like, it's a shame to see what goes on across the world, but I wanted to show light in the dance where it's like this is what makes you feel a part of another nation. This is how you can bring a terrible time to invite someone into your home. And in my own experiences, that's something I'd definitely like to be a part of. And I just want to say thank you for the awesome opportunity to do this, and have a great day.